You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
That's right, guys. We're coming to you this week on our normal night, like we've kept it for a while now. Live. Getting ever closer to that episode 300. That's right.
5 episodes left to go.
5 away, peeps. We've been doing this for a
good
long time.
to be back on Tuesday, though.
It does?
Yeah, I like having a regular schedule.
You do?
I don't like all the flipping around.
I know.
For things like elections, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, for the sake of the country, it's come on.
What's more important here?
Yeah, really.
I mean, the election hasn't even ended yet. I mean,
exactly.
Right.
It's still going
like
on.
Months away.
Yeah.
I mean, tons of litigation.
Yep.
We thought it was over last week. It's not. The fight continues.
I didn't even know that the whole certification of the winner of the election, that's not even until December.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, and that's why I remember,
There is-
I think it was in 2000 when all of the hanging chads.
Yeah.
That was all going on.
That
and-
took months, yeah.
Well, it was
Yeah.
December 6th was the deadline, and that was when the Supreme Court made the decision in Florida, or to reverse the decision that was made in Florida Supreme Court. And that, of course, caused the controversy of the recounts and everything. But it was it's interesting because, look,
History
there's a lot of
repeats itself.
chaos
Yeah.
going on in the world, and yet again, we are here to provide you all with some entertainment and give you a reprieve. That's what we do
Well,
every week here
we
on the
say
Red Moon
that,
Podcast.
But our review this week kind of dives back into. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it
True.
kind of dives back into the problem of misinformation
It does.
and social media. And
But real quick, I actually want to give a shout out because I made a boo boo. Okay,
you boo boo?
He made a
I made a boo
boo-boo.
boo, and I feel like a terrible friend.
You should.
Wow.
Because actually, as we quickly approach our episode 300, I kind of went back and I was looking at like our first episode and how young we were, and
Yeah.
you know, of course, we're about to reach this major milestone. And
I wouldn't
and
recommend
then-
anybody go back and listen to the first episode.
well, not the first episode, the first live episode. I didn't go back to the first one.
Okay.
God,
okay.
no.
The first live episode's
That
fine.
that was pretty terrible.
The very first episode we ever made is
I've heard that. one.
yeah.
sounds like pass.
Yeah.
Swipe left.
Yeah.
So I
that
would
bad.
have. I would have too.
It was like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it was sad because it was like Oscar predictions, and we literally went over every movie that was nominated. It was and gave our picks.
Yeah.
It was long and bad.
Yeah.
But the thing was, as I was looking back at our first ever live episode, that's the correction I wanted to make.
Okay.
Yeah.
First ever live episode. As we're approaching this milestone, we've been doing this for a long time. We've had a lot of faithful listeners, viewers, and even people who've been on the show. And then a notification popped up.
Uh-oh.
And I completely overlooked somebody's birthday.
Oh.
He's been on the show many a times. He's probably not watching now, but I wanted to
You're
give
about
a
Nathan,
very
aren't ya?
special happy birthday to Nathan Curry. I did not text him yesterday.
oh wow, yeah, I didn't
and I'm
see
gonna.
that.
I just wanted to give him a live shout out because I completely.
Facebook failed me.
He
Yet
deserves
again.
it.
Yep.
Happy birthday, Nathan.
He does. He
Belated.
deserves it. He's been through a lot with us. He's been through 26 years. I think we are approaching 26 years of friendship even. Well, probably not
Wow.
that close. But he's been with us for a lot. He's been on the show before. Very happy birthday to Nathan Curry.
Yeah.
His birthday was yesterday, so I wanted to give him a birthday shout out today on the show. And just remind him that I did not forget about you, even though I forgot to text you. Okay.
Wow.
But yes, to continue on with the show, we do have a controversial movie. This has been popular now for a few weeks since I think it released in October.
Yeah.
So it's been out for a while now on the old Netflix. And we don't.
Where else are you going to watch movies right now?
Right, exactly. What else is where else do you have a choice? So we actually went to a different form factor of movie. We didn't review just a normal movie. It's a documentary. We don't do these often, but because this is such a social I don't want to say the
Dilemma?
title.
Wow.
Dilemma.
You tried.
I tried to find a segue. But since this is such a social dilemma, we thought, well, why not? We have to review this film because, well, so many people are talking about it. And, well, is it any good? Is it worth it? So here is our review of that movie.
The world has changed a lot since I was a kid. I remember my parents getting their first computer, dial-up internet, and their first cell phone. Most of my childhood existed before cell phones and the internet existed, and certainly before they became standard in every household. I remember creating my first social network account with MySpace. I remember when Facebook came along dethroning MySpace. How we interact with one another, share ideas, facts, and information with one another has changed. But has that change been for the better? Or has something more sinister arisen alongside the rapid growth of technology within the last 2.5 decades? This is what Netflix's latest documentary, The Social Dilemma, hopes to bring to light. Directed by Jeff Orlowski, who is most famous for his Emmy-winning documentary about climate change, Chasing Ice, The Social Dilemma looks to warn its viewers about the degradation of society by big tech companies, specifically through the use of their social media creations. These companies include the likes of Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. As the film progresses, aided by scenes of dramatization to reinforce the ideas of how social media affects our lives, it showcases aspects of these companies that are downright scary. How these companies have created algorithms specific to targeting your likes and dislikes in order to keep you using their service, ways they've pulled info on you to do this and handpick the ads and media you see, and how social media can be used to spread disinformation by giving each user the view they want to see, reinforcing their own idea of truth rather than real fact. These things and their implications are horrifying, and the ways in which these practices could be used for malintent is likewise a scary thought. The film, however, never offers us an opposing perspective, or does anything in an attempt to show the ways in which these things could also be beneficial. It is decidedly one-sided and bleak. Everything in the documentary is doom and gloom, with social media spoken of as an apocalyptic event. This is not to say the message and warning the documentary has regarding social media are wrong or not worth heeding. Caution is always prudent in all aspects of life. Being educated on the tools and platforms you use is likewise. Bringing these warnings to light is a noble idea, but the film often strays away from fact to give anecdotes or scare tactics. This is most obvious in the documentary's dramatizations, coming off like an old 50s anti-drug PSA that warns how little Timmy murdered all his friends and became a Nazi because of that one puff of a joint. The Social Dilemma's dramatizations ridiculously show how social media causes its users to descend into self-destruction. The point of the film is ultimately about how social media needs more government regulation, and that without it, social media will more or less corrupt society and destroy the world. I'm not saying that social media is incapable of corrupting society. I'm saying that it can only do so if people allow it to. The movie forgets to mention that people are free to choose what they want to do. Yes, maybe algorithms exist to get me to open the exact ad Facebook wants me to, but I still have to choose to open it and let it dictate my life. More often than not, I feel I decide when social media dictates my life. There are definitely creepy and scary aspects of social media people should be aware of, the spread of misinformation being the biggest. But this likewise relies on people acknowledging the truth rather than share their own narrative. This begins with parents raising their children to know the truth, for the education system to teach truth and not indoctrinate, and for the media to be accountable for likewise sharing the truth and not misinformation. Yes, there's a lot of troubling things in our society, but it's not all because of social media. The Social Dilemma has important and true things to say, but never offers any facts to back them up. Instead, it relies on scare tactics that are obviously loaded to make its point, discrediting itself in the process. If the film had stuck to facts and awareness, which is what it claims to promote, it would have been a solid documentary. Instead, it finds itself guilty of the very thing it decries social media of, preying on its audience's emotions to elicit more viewers. I give The Social Dilemma 2.5 out of 4 stars.
There you have it. 2.5 out of 4 stars for The Social Dilemma. So was it just the, ridiculously crazy, oh my gosh, I got to delete my social media right now type of film? that led you to just push the delete button?
I mean, that's what it tries to be. And the thing is with that is that was like most of what its substance was, which is why I only gave it 2.5. Like the dramatization I felt was loaded and over the top. It was very clearly meant to drive and scare people. And I don't have a problem with the message because I do agree that many of the problems they highlight in the film are problems people should be aware of. But rather than focus on those problems and give more facts and info, they just kept trying these scare tactics and this over-the-top dramatization that was ridiculous. And I was like,
the dramatization was particularly bad.
It's like your message isn't wrong. The way you're going about sharing the message is terrible. And that's basically why I give it 2.5.
Well, Sean, what did you come away
2.
with? 2 stars. Okay, so dropped it an extra half star.
And the 2 stars to me were for the interviews themselves. Like obviously the dramatization that they used and just the Terminator style AI. It's out to get you kind of thing. Well, I do believe it's out to sell you, but I don't believe it's out to bring about our demise, which is what they tried to sell in this movie or documentary. But I mean, I did appreciate the people that came forward and gave their interviews because it cost a lot of them their jobs, and it probably is hard for them to even come out and admit that they worked for someone or a company that is doing this, that's selling people's information or marketing human beings.
Right.
They're marketing your lives, basically. And so it's not that I didn't believe in all of it. I did believe in some of it because we've all talked about how we've experienced having a conversation or whatever, and
all of a sudden, next thing we know,
Facebook is giving ads for stuff that we just talked about in front of our Alexa Echoes or whatever, and yours in the other room probably just lit up because she's listening all the time.
I don't have it anymore. I got rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I know people that have had private conversations, and it's either their phone is listening to them or the Amazon thing is listening to them because the very next day they open Facebook and it's showing ads for the materials you build a deck with and Lowe's ads and things like that. And it's like they didn't Google any of that stuff. They just spoke it.
I just want our viewers to know our social media is at the bottom of the screen.
Right there.
Yeah. So please follow, like, and subscribe
follow it so we can
all
follow
of our
you.
accounts.
See, this is one of those times
we really want to know everything about you.
Where I kind of like hope they are listening to me sometimes, especially when it's the times I'm coming up with off the wall, zany whatever that's coming out of my mouth. Because I hope Google and Facebook are listening and thinking, this guy's a sociopath.
The songs that I make up while I'm home alone,
that's
and
a
I'm
big
singing and making up songs.
But that's
the
thing
is that
there's not. That's one of the things about the movie that bugged me is because we're talking about this as if there's somebody on the other end constantly listening and watching us, but it's not a physical person. Like there's an algorithm made that learns what we like and sends that to us. The movie makes it seem like there's literally somebody at Google or Facebook at a desk all day long listening and watching to everything you do.
There are people managing that AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
And managing the information that it gathers.
Yep.
But I don't believe there's someone that's just specifically sitting and listening to you.
Well, and I do think there are times because it's been proven when evidence comes out, it's like to either fix the AI or, for instance, when there are instances of the government saying, well, we need this kind of information, regardless of, like, for instance, the terrorist with the iPhone and then trying to unlock it and Apple wouldn't unlock it for them. You know, it's like there are times where Google doesn't have those same kind of protections. Facebook doesn't. It's like you sign up on that dotted line when you enter into the terms of service and agreement that you will abide by whatever rules they set forth for their platform.
Right. And nobody reads that.
Of course nobody does.
But you touched on a good point there where you said like Apple wouldn't unlock it. It's like because Apple has reasons to safeguard that very private information too.
And the thing is, though, is
like they want to make sure the fappening happens.
Yeah.
But they want to make sure that you as a customer your info's
but
not
the
being
fappening
breached.
is a perfect example because when there is a breach of that personal data, other than what you specifically have sold, the constant combating, and I think the overall good that this movie does, which I settled on the same 2.5 out of 4 stars, but ultimately the thing that this movie does do, which I think everybody would agree is a good thing, is that it does bring about the awareness.
Yeah.
It gives you the idea that, hey, which anybody in this century now doesn't have the understanding of what social media is engineered to do, you're kind of lost. It's like, come on. I mean, when a kid picks up an iPad and he knows how to use it the first time, that's the genius in engineering. But the moment it goes down the rabbit hole of an AI figuring out what my thoughts are before I think them, I understand the creepy nature and that side effect of, how much is too much information.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even when a person is listening to conversations, such as if there are, wiretaps or, if the government has to legally go get a warrant to say, well, we need this information because we have conspiracies. For one, there's 300+ million people in the U.S. alone, 6 billion, 7 billion on the planet. The fact of the matter is that everybody says alarming or ridiculous things sometimes in their own private conversations. Yes, AI is going to get better to the point of honing in on certain things, but I also think that nobody, as much of a passive filter there is at places like this where they don't give a damn what your personal information is, they just hear what you say.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I trying to hide anyway? Now, again, that's not to say it's okay, it's good, but it's like, at what point is your privacy worth it? When you go onto these social media sites, you are giving away your privacy.
Oh, yeah.
You're signing up saying it's okay to
People
use
don't
any kind
know.
of public data I have set forth.
But you're
to use
choosing
that.
to do that. And you say
Right.
people don't know, but to an extent, you do have to know that. I mean, once it's on the internet, it's out there.
Well,
So if
and that's the point
if
of this
you're-
movie is if you don't know, now you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And
when you upload pictures to Facebook, you think this is a place where I can share those pictures with people I know and store them so that I have them later. But Facebook sees every single one of those pictures as an opportunity to advertise to you.
Yes.
Because if you upload a picture of you and your kids with a Nintendo Switch box in the background, you're going to get ads for Nintendo Switch games.
Yes.
Because they are scanning those photos, and an AI is pulling bits and pieces out of your room and out of the photo so that they can better sell you to Nintendo or to
and ultimately what
anybody
they believe and think. I mean, the way the guy phrases it, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
You are, yeah.
And so ultimately it's like in their minds, they're getting money off this ad.
Yeah.
But the only way they can grow their service is if the ads are more geared to, for one, what you would buy as a person, and two, if it's the fact that you're on the site longer, so you actually see these ads, and that to me though is the thing. Is it's like I understand what their main goal and trying to keep. I mean, to me, that was the entire essence of the AI being created or them listening.
Well, and for me, the marketing aspect isn't the aspect that bothers me because I kind of like discovering things that I might want to purchase because
I hadn't heard of it
It's
before.
like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
And in that aspect, as long as I know Facebook, Apple, Google, whoever is safeguarding my
interests,
my material, they are safeguarding my private affairs. Then it's like, okay, as long as they're not. And granted, I know leaks happen, and that's why they try to create better security. But I'm like, if they're safeguarding my material, I don't care what they try to sell me, as long as I know that I'm the one that dictates what I'm using.
Yeah.
Right.
And this movie puts a very strong emphasis on they're constantly trying to get you addicted and make you use the app. And it's like, I'm not saying they aren't, because to a degree, I do agree they do want to do that. But at the same time,
that's their whole point.
You can only be as influenced as you allow yourself to be. You have to be responsible for making sure you know what is true out there and know that, all right, Facebook popped this ad up. Do I really have to pick that up and use it? And yes, there's that addiction. But again, that addiction comes from you allowing yourself to fall into that rabbit hole.
And I would no doubt agree with what most of the movie talks about or the way they frame it in terms of, and this is where I think the crucial point of the film and why I kind of rested on the 2.5 instead of a more serious score, like saying, oh, everybody needs to watch this. And that is the fact that for us in our generation, we grew up well before social media was a thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't until middle school, high school that MySpace even started to come about.
Yeah.
The idea of interacting with people that were our own age on the internet became a thing. And so for me, it's one of these situations where the way in which I was raised and the way in which I was even integrated and slowly turned on to these types of social media accounts is something that I do think is important to discuss and figure out for the generation to come.
Yeah.
And of course, this, as bad as the dramatizations were, like for instance, the ridiculous part where the girl, the mom,
Breaks the
locks
cookie
all
jar.
the phones up in this cookie jar and puts a
Yeah.
timer on it, and then she breaks it to get her phone out, and they're just like, "Ah, can you
Yeah.
believe her?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, my ass would be red for a week.
And
And
you
I would
wouldn't have a
never
phone.
have a
My
phone
phone would
again.
have been broken, yeah.
Exactly. I would have been told, you're not getting this back.
And I think that's a great point, because you could say they do in the movie. They say for the first time ever, kids are growing up with social media, and suicide rates are up, depression's up, and it's like, yes, but again, that's not all. I'm not saying it's not social media's fault, because to a degree it is, but it's also on the parents to make sure that they're teaching their kids and making sure their kids
Yes.
aren't
Yep.
overusing social media. If you just hand your kids a tablet and say, go do whatever you want and use that tablet as a babysitter, then they're going to go
Yeah.
into that rabbit
Well,
hole.
even one
and
of the guys
it's gonna
that they're
happen.
interviewing, the guy that was he was from Facebook, and they interview him and they ask him about, do you let your kids use it? And he's like, no.
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 And I'm like, well, you're being a decent parent in
Yes.
keeping your kids and sheltering them from that until
Well,
they're old
and
enough.
To me, it's like any kind of
But-
thing that has, this kind of label on it in society where you dictate, okay, well, at a certain age, you're able. And I'm not about to go into like, oh, we need government restrictions on social media and when you can join and proving your age and all that. No, absolutely not. In fact, I think part of their whole argument for more government regulation, while I think they may have an argument in certain things, but more so to keep them from, to keep them accountable and holding social media companies liable for certain things, especially if they're going to act in a certain way. For instance, yes, one person talked about, taxes that they would have to pay if they were going to sell your data, and that you would be given benefits if you were to allow them to have your data. And it's like, under certain circumstances, I understand for a reasonable, overreach for government to come in and regulate.
Yeah.
But their overall thought of, hey, we're the geniuses that created this system. We can't even control it, but government can. It's like, no, I'm not sold on that. Because to me, that just gives them the tools that you also had, and it's just an even worse monster.
Well, all government's going to do is tell the very people who made it, all right, we're forcing you to fix this now.
Exactly.
So basically,
I'm like, everybody
there's-
in this film who was all for like tightening restrictions on the company, or even the ones who are out there now creating their own humanitarian efforts to thwart the social media companies as they are.
Yeah.
It's like, you're already doing what government regulators would tell you to do.
that was like my point with like burning my own house down. It's like, I'm going to burn my own house down unless somebody comes in here and tells me not to burn my own house down. It's like, no, I know to not burn my own house down. And it's like, and I know some of these people who work for these companies are silenced by the higher ups or fired and such, so that they don't have the option to be able to help. But in regards to, like you said, the government regulation, at the end of the day, it's going to go back to the people who made the technology, and because the government doesn't know how to. They don't know any of that.
Right.
It's clear when they were interviewing
And
Mark
I think
Zuckerberg and all
that
them.
would be
and
their
said it.
argument, though. Their argument would be, we were ousted from these respective companies because we were willing to come forward. We were willing to speak on behalf of
They're like
for the
whistleblowers.
people.
Yeah.
We're the whistleblowers. But I still think ultimately, one of the main arguments that I have is that you're expecting this overreaching solution to a symptom. You're looking for government to be the cause, or the main solution to the problem, and that's not. It's just going to treat a symptom of it, which is, hey, we need to point the finger and say, shame on you, and here's what we're going to restrict. But really, what needs to happen is we have to, again, it all comes down to personal responsibility. And if you're going to elect to use these services, then you have to know what deal you're doing with the devil. And I'm all for regulating to the point of saying these companies have to be very clear at what you're facing when you sign up. And most of them do have very clear insight and even very strict, regulations in and of themselves, self-policing, when they update their privacy protocols, when they send you new emails saying, hey, we've updated our terms of service and agreement. And all of that is more so because, yes, while they are their whole intent is to keep you on that platform as long as you can, the whole idea is that they also want to protect the fact that you feel safe on that platform. Because if you don't, and you do feel like they're coming after you, and they are just whoring you out to everybody else, and they're sharing all your data with all these terrible people on the dark web, well, then you're obviously not going to want to use their platform, and their shareholders aren't happy, and their stock drops immediately.
That's the issue that I have with the Oculus, which is a Facebook product.
Yep.
It's like you have the original creator of Oculus coming out and saying like they're using this product. It's $1,000 product. Like the newest one, it's about $1,100 is what the product is worth, but they sell it for $299 because you are the product.
Yes.
So they have, but see what's creepy about this is you have to have a Facebook account to use it now. So they're making you use your Facebook account. You can't create a new Facebook account because then they wouldn't be
creepy.
Then they would not be getting your data.
Yeah.
They'd be getting nothing because if you create an account just to use an Oculus, it's blank. It's a blank slate. They know nothing about you. So they'll ban you from Oculus if you try to use a new account. They want you to use your personal account so that they can have that information. Because if they don't have your information, then they're not making up the difference for selling you that subsidized product.
Right.
And then they have people that meet you in social, like they push it. Like now, I've had both the first and second Oculus, wireless Oculuses, the Quest or whatever. The first one didn't have any of this stuff. The second one, you are met as soon as you sign into it with Facebook Horizons, which is like the Oasis from
Ready Player
One. It's like an open world meeting gathering place where you can go on walks, you can play pool,
like
you can
VR
watch
chat,
a movie, you can go to a concert, you can do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like in VR, and they don't force you to use it, but they immediately throw it in your face like, hey, you need to try this, you need to create your account, create your avatar, blah 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 blah. And then they have people on there that work for Facebook that approach you in VR pretending to just be Joe Schmo, a new friend that you just met in this bowling alley in a VR, and this person talks to you, plays games with you, becomes your friend, does all this stuff, and then invites you to a concert in VR where you have to pay for a ticket. And they say, well, I already bought my ticket. I'm going in there. Let's hang out. Like, buy a ticket. Come watch the concert with me. And so you pay $20 for
this
a ticket.
Yeah, to
and
go
they
watch
just
this concert.
So they just sold you a $20 ticket to a concert.
Yep.
But it's a person working for Facebook. It's not a real person that wants to actually be your friend. They're manipulating you.
Yeah.
But not only that, the freaking device has 480-degree cameras on the outside of it that see everything in your room.
Your surroundings.
And the thing is when you do sign the agreement to use the product, you are, and I've never read it because everybody just hits okay, yes, okay,
everybody does,
confirm.
yeah.
You know, everybody just scoots through it. But in that privacy policy, it does say that the outside cameras, when you have the device on and you are playing, it is always monitoring your surroundings. And that's to keep you from bumping into a wall while you're playing, but it's also looking around your room and gathering information about brand names and product information from your house. So if there's a Red Bull can in the room, they scan and they can start selling you Red Bull in VR.
Yeah.
Or on Facebook.
And just
or
reminding
whatever.
you. It's like these little reminders
But
throughout.
the thing is if you're playing VR and your wife walks in front of you naked, she's on camera.
She's on camera,
and
you gotta think about
whether
that.
it's an AI monitoring that or a real person, which I seriously doubt, because there's not enough people in the world to do that.
Yeah, there's not. But I'm not saying there's never a real person who doesn't.
Right.
True.
Who,
I was going to say it's
I'm
rare, but it's definitely been proven that every once in a while, out of a handful.
Yeah.
But
I mean, well, even
But
YouTube,
if you have face detection
Yes.
with AI, then of course they can pick out a brand name. So
Yeah.
if they see Sony, when I get my PS5, hopefully on Thursday, if my Oculus sees that setting on the table, there's a good chance that I'm going to start getting ads for PS5 games
Yeah.
in my Facebook feed.
Well,
and that's an invasion of my privacy.
Yeah.
But I did sign it away in order to use a $1,000 product for $299.
Yeah. You gave them full.
I gave them full reign. And see, I don't feel like government regulations and things. I don't think the government should be in control of social media, but I do think that I think we should legislate laws that say that's off limits.
Yeah.
You should not be able to invade someone's home with cameras and audio listening devices. No matter what it's for, that's an invasion of people's privacy. And
Or even, I'd even be for
make Facebook adhere to those laws.
Yeah,
and
I
guidelines.
would be for you have to be open and honest about how that
How the
data,
data is being
how
used.
that data is being interpreted.
You have
because
to
here's the thing,
showcase it in something that's not a brick wall of
Yes.
terms and agreements. This is
Yeah.
what we're going to
Exactly.
do.
Yeah.
Because I think the hard part, just like with like nutrition facts on things that are, we can all complain, but at the end of the day, at least the essence is that you're aware of what it is you're consuming.
Yeah.
They're not trying to stop you from it. Now I know there's a whole argument, with schools and what we're feeding our kids and all that.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter
it
is,
says right here what's in here. I know nothing except for corn
bad
syrup.
stuff.
Except for heart attack.
yeah, exactly.
Nothing but heart attack. That's it.
But the thing is exactly, I'm all for awareness and making sure that these companies are forthright in telling you everything they're using your data for. And even that one of the guys I looked into from the movie was very keen on, he's actually building a business right now about how there are servers that he's trying to enact or at least create that they're kind of a stopgap between the user and the data pool. And it's almost like you have the social media networks, you have the user, and in this middle part is the data pool, but only certain pieces of that data pool can actually be accessed via the servers or the social media.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, it's like, okay, you do have this huge mass collection of data that can be very useful, that can be extremely rewarding for the end user, but is also extremely dangerous regarding your privacy.
Yeah.
And so, no doubt, the whole idea and the scary part of this, I think, is the unknown. And the fact is so many people are afraid of what is not been discovered with this technology yet.
Well,
and the fact is he brings it up in the movie about how these AIs are thinking in such speeds because of processing power that we didn't have 30, 40,
Really
50
talk about
years
the
ago.
miles of underground servers.
Yes.
Like rooms
that
underground,
are just,
miles.
and all they
you
do
know,
is process data,
Yeah,
and
that's it.
they're able to do it at a 50,000 times rate
like
than
you
we've
said,
ever been able to think before.
That technology is out there now. It exists. And yeah, you have companies like Google and Facebook, Apple that, are trying to keep your security, secure and promise not to do anything with malintent with that.
Yeah, nefarious.
But like you said, we've seen hacks from other countries, and that technology exists. Once it exists, if it can be used or developed otherwise, that's what I'm saying.
Right
Yes.
You can see whether it's within our country, whether it's outside countries trying to pry on, well, what are Americans following now, so that we can try to influence their perception about other parts of the world.
Yeah.
And that is a scary thought, because if it can be used by Facebook to sell you an ad, it can be used by someone else for something more nefarious.
Right.
So I do get that point of it, and I agree with that. But how you deal with that is a whole other conversation.
Right. Well, and that's where the movie fell flat for me. And it's like, I felt like they just had kind of this one broad blanket solution for something that they were bringing to my attention that was so dire. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, any good documentary is going to show me that dire situation, but then in the same circumstance, they're hopefully going to give me a positive outlook or a solution. If you're just here to throw up,
there really
ringing alarm
there really
bells,
wasn't any optimism
None.
in the thing.
It was
That's
all
even
loss
like
of hope.
What Neil wrote on our, he commented and he said, like, I buy the actual warnings and manipulation and all that, and I understand that the doom and gloom is because they really believe that it's having a fundamental impact on people, especially young people. But it wasn't done very in a convincing way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
well,
I don't feel like you can't really
I thought they
be
were
convincing.
trying, and maybe it was because they didn't ask the right questions in the interviews, but they were trying to bridge some of that gap with the dramatization. But even there, the reason it fell flat was because the dramatizations were overreaching.
Yeah.
Like the result with the parents not reacting to the kid,
Yeah.
smashing the cookie jar.
They're out of control. They're using social media.
Yeah.
Well, we were over at Brian's talking about it, and I'm just like, when the boy gets off his phone for a while and the AI
Yes.
people are like,
We
well,
gotta get
he
him
likes,
back on.
He likes this girl, so let's like it made it look like they were creating a notification.
Yes.
And I'm just like, the kid is going to get a notification if anybody likes his photo.
Yes.
Or if anybody likes a friend of his photo. They made it act
Well,
like,
and I loved
let's
how-
make the girl like this photo, and then this boy will see that and then he'll get back on his phone. I'm like, no, that's just, you're going to get a notification no matter what.
Right.
You can choose to either read it or not, or turn your notificaff.
Yes.
But I mean,
and again,
it wasn't fabricated
it
just
was
for
this
him.
drastic circumstance of them trying to go at any length to get you back on the phone, and it's not necessarily following. I think it could get to a scary point of it following you so well that it's like, well, we know he's really interested in this.
Yeah.
And I thought that's where I was glad they did use extreme center, not left or right. But I loved just the ridiculous nature of, okay, he's been off social for a while, he gets on, and then all of a sudden he finds this one video, and he goes down this rabbit hole, and now all of a sudden he's immediately this extremist.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. I was like,
it's a little crazy.
that's a little pointed.
Yeah.
That's why I made the point in the review about it's like little Timmy smoked a joint and now he's a Nazi. It's like
come on now, you all
like I watched one Ben Shapiro video and now I'm a neocon.
Yes, that's exactly
I'm gonna create a militia and storm the White House.
But to be honest
come
with
on.
you, that is the narrative they were trying to sell.
Yeah.
And I thought that was what was so ridiculous. Is I'm like, okay, you do have some liable nature for why we're in certain positions. There's no doubt fake news is spread on your platforms, but whether you should be the moral arbiters of what that fake news is or isn't is a problem. And that was the issue that I took with this film is you all are not just the gatekeepers here because you created this technology and now all of society is susceptible to it and it's going to render us obsolete. It's like, no, the only way that's going to happen is, yes, if we allow ourselves to do that, or worse off, we allow you all to engineer it so that we only think a certain way, because that's also a problem.
I think it speaks more of a degradation of morals in today's society,
Exactly.
more so than yes. I'm not saying that social media hasn't helped that. I absolutely believe social media has helped degrade morals in some ways, but that's because people have allowed it to, and because parents have not taught their kids. This is social media. You use it for these purposes, not these purposes. Yeah. And it really does. It comes back to society and how we teach each other and our kids how to behave. And I think just as a culture as a whole, we have failed, not just because of social media.
Well, it's not even just a degradation of morals, it's of thought.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people don't think for themselves.
No.
They rely on this information that's handed to them, and that's the problem is it's like if we're going to allow people to hand us the information and we're automatically going to claim that as gospel, then they can hand us whatever they want. And that was like, there's a guy on YouTube, and I'll call him out. His YouTube thing is Crap Gamer, and he does these PlayStation reviews and game reviews. And I like listening to him. I like listening to his show on YouTube, but I'm starting to get sick of it because his headlines will say, like for instance, it was either today or yesterday, he posted like, and I'm just saying this is because people are if they want to get your likes or if they want to get you to click their video, they're going to say all kinds of crap to make you click that video.
Yeah.
And so his headline is like, plus Sony announces something that completely blows Xbox Series X out of the water.
And it's something
like you click it and listen, finally 20 minutes into the video, he says, okay, so here's the announcement PlayStation made. And when he reads it, it's something that they announced 4 weeks ago, and it's nothing at all that's going to blow an Xbox out of the water. Like it's nothing. It's just crap information.
Exactly
from Crap Gamer.
Yeah. It's people
clickbait,
using the same manipulation tactics as social media. But because guess what, you catch on to that.
But see,
point.
I'm beginning to see through it, and now I'm kind of like, I'm not going to listen to your stuff because you're baiting me with a headline that makes it sound like something I'm interested in listening to. And 30 minutes into your freaking podcast, you dish out something that we already all heard a month ago that has nothing to do with what you just said. So it's up to me to use my thought to pick through the garbage. But some people just don't do that. They take whatever
they don't
they're
have
fed.
That discernment.
Yeah. We Got This Covered does that all the time. Anytime I see an article from We Got This Covered now, I'm just like, it's like, we have this report from the person that told us this about this 4 months ago. Yeah. That
we're diving deeper into it.
And I'm like, well, yeah, if you report everything you ever hear, of course you're going to be right. You know, I mean, a broken clock's right twice a day.
Exactly. So every once in a while, and I know, look, I know we're spending a lot of time on this film, but obviously it's a documentary that touches on so much of our lives, and because so much of our lives is consumed by social media. But I think this is kind of our last fundamental point, which is, yes, it does. You know, we are a generation, and I think we have the lucky nature of being the last generation that grew up in such our formative years
without it.
Yeah,
I agree.
And I think it's extremely imperative that the one glimmer of hope this film provides is for us to understand how precious that is.
Yep.
And what's sad is they don't even spend an inkling of any part of the film touching on that. It's about doom and gloom, and here's the signs of what you need to be worried about.
Yep.
Just shut it off now. And for me, so much of my hope came from knowing that these people are not in control of my thoughts or in control. Yeah, if you want to manipulate me to sell me something or go down this rabbit hole and watch these conspiracy theories, so be
I mean,
it.
I'm broke right now, so you can show me all the ads you want. I just bought a PlayStation. I'm not buying nothing.
but the fact of the matter is when your hope is greater than that of man, when your hope rests in something more powerful than what we have here on earth, and your purpose is greater than that, I think you get beyond just the realms of social media.
Yeah.
And to me, it's why I kind of scoff at some of this, not because I'm wanting to be disingenuous to the dangers of it or even not take it seriously. It's just so much of my life doesn't revolve around social media.
Yeah.
And I would think that anything that you don't take in a healthy moderation is going to be dangerous. Just like alcohol. Alcohol is not bad, but when you consume too much of it, you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And it's the same with social media. We need those healthy limits. And to go back to the point you already brought up, Sean, about just even one of the not co-creators, but a very significant executive in Facebook talking about when the credits were rolling, and he said, "No, we're zealots. We don't let our kids even on it."
Yeah.
And I'm like, good for you. Give them the time to get to the point where they actually can think for themselves. They have the knowledge that you've passed on to them as parents, and you care more about your child's upbringing and rearing them in such a way that you would want them to live without being indoctrinated by these other people. And that's the way societies and generations have continued on for millennia.
Yep.
That's the only way we're going to get past this, is so that we don't just listen to this cultural zeitgeist that is social media right now.
Yeah.
And anybody who's selling you a pill on saying you need to take this seriously or else, it's alarmism, and you need to be weary of it. Anything is healthy in moderation.
And again, it's not to say that they didn't make good points and that some of the problems they addressed aren't problems, because they are problems, but how you handle it and like you said, the alarmism of it is why I couldn't give the movie more than 2.5.
Yeah,
because
same here.
they never offered a real solution, and they never really, I felt like, dove as far into the facts and details as I wanted. They just kept saying, this is bad, and if we don't do something about it, the world's going to end.
Yeah,
right.
And I think when you look at the documentary and you look at just the structure of it, I do feel like, just like Neil said, it's actually a bigger issue for younger people. And I feel like this is more alarming to younger people that did not grow up with in a time without social media. Like, we're talking about how, I'm older than you guys. When I was a kid, it was so freaking cumbersome to get on the internet that I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, when you had to wait 10 minutes for dial-up to log you into AOL.
You definitely didn't get on. Or
And
somebody picked up the
it
phone and you're disconnected.
Yeah, it took 30 seconds for one, web page to load. Like, eventually, you just gave up on it. Like, you're just like, I could look this up in an encyclopedia way faster.
I let it load in the background while I went and did other stuff, and then I'd come back to get on it, and then, like Brandon said, someone would
picked up the phone
because I wasn't sitting there waiting for it to load. They just thought I wasn't using it. So
kept me from playing my Rugrats game.
But
wasn't able to get on Nickelodeon.
We grew up in a time where it wasn't necessary, nor was it needed. And now that we're older, yes, we're finding that for what we like to do, like our podcast, social media is a necessity. I mean, it really is. We couldn't do it without it.
No doubt.
And it's
and there's so many things and so many people that couldn't be reached in certain ways without it. The connection aspect of it is so moving and brilliant and needed in today's world. It truly has made the world that much smaller of a place when you can reach somebody across the world. But there are obviously scary adverse effects to that. But I think ultimately, if this movie would have focused more on the calling card it is to current generations who have control over the next generation, to say, do not let this be your God. Don't let social media rule your life. And as long as you approach it from that atmosphere, then, and you're not the brain dead parents they show in this terrible depiction in the movie.
Oh, she busted the jar and took her phone upstairs.
Should I go talk to her? Yes, honey. It's like, oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
There's just so many aspects of the dramatization that are just like you would literally have to be a complete pushover.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's just a calling card for how cautious we need to be with teaching our kids and teaching the next generation. And trust me, I've seen it with my nieces and nephews and how my brother and sister have raised their children the way my grandparent, my mom and dad, their grandparents are treating
your
them.
mom, what you said.
Well, they are grandparents.
Your grandparents.
They're not mine. But no, it is. It's like I see how they're approaching it with caution.
Yeah.
And I think that's the vigilant message we need to take away from this. So I completely agree. 2.5 stars for The Social Dilemma. All right, guys. Hopefully we've gotten everything out of that conversation.
I think so.
Yeah, that was a long one. Let's get to our headlines.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So here is our headlines. Let's roll that open. All right, our top stories for this week. That's right. We're probably going to go through them pretty quickly.
That's okay.
We have to because, well, we spent a lot of time on that movie. But our first one out of the gate is Johnny Depp and WB. Warner Brothers have split.
I'm as mad as hell,
That's right.
and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Are you mad over this split?
I'm not. I don't. Here's the thing. I am mad at the double standard. I mean,
Yes.
I don't think. I know there's a lot of people who liked Johnny Depp in the Fantastic Beasts films. I didn't think he was that great, so like
I don't think any of us were favorable
No.
yeah.
towards him.
So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, him being replaced in the film series is like, I think someone else could do it better, so that doesn't upset me. I do think it's unfair that he gets fired from Warner Brothers for being proven innocent, whereas Amber Heard gets proven guilty and still has her job with Warner Brothers.
Yep. And not only that, but the fact that
She's hot though. I mean, that's why.
Well, Keith, you want to tell
why.
them you want to tell them the meme you saw?
It's a little inappropriate, but I could do it. I saw a meme online that said the real reason Amber Heard still has her job, and it was just a photo of a woman's knees that were rubbed red, like she had been bent
Oh,
down. Yeah.
wow.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Talk about
Shit, carpet burn.
Yeah, it was bad.
They let Harvey
But-
Weinstein out.
And they would say,
Not
"Well, you
who
can't
you
say."
know,
Well, they say you can't say that. It's
what you
sexist.
blow.
It's who you blow.
That's the thing. They'll say, "Well, that's sexist." It's like, but is it not? Like, I understand, like the
It's not
Me Too
sexist.
movement.
The
It's like-
actual thing that happened.
It's like, do we believe all women to the point where one is obviously guilty and there's recordings of her saying she attacked
Well,
him?
and that's what makes this whole thing preposterous. The
She's
fact
crazy.
of the matter is, the only reason they severed ties was specifically because the defamation lawsuit that Depp lost regarding his suing of the publication. I think it was The Sun.
Yeah.
It lost in court. So their whole idea was that, well, we're going to pay him the $10 million so that he does not, we sever ties with him cleanly because there's going to be so much bad PR. And I'm like, but he's not guilty. He just lost the defamation lawsuit. But you realize if you're listening to the heartbeat of what his fans and other moviegoers are saying, they're backing him.
Yeah.
So you're really probably going to get worse PR for now trashing
It's
him
gonna be a James-
and then keeping Amber Heard.
It's going to be a James Gunn situation where you have so many
Yes.
people defending him that
Probably.
they're like, "Oh, what did we do?"
Yeah, they'll walk it back eventually. But
Well, it's too late now. They've already not only paid him, they're possibly replacing him, Keith, you said, with Mads
Mads
Mikkelsen.
Mikkelsen.
Sean
yeah.
saw that article, and honestly, I think Mads Mikkelsen would be way better. And I know there's people like, "You shouldn't say that. What happened to Johnny's unfair." It's like, yes, it is unfair, but Mads Mikkelsen's a better actor. I'm just saying.
It's like, well,
in some cases, yeah.
and I think that's the other funny part of this story is just if there's anything that can be proven sweeter a case that Hollywood is not out there for the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
They're not out there for Black Lives Matter. They're not out there for minorities. They are out there for one thing, making $1. And at the end of the day, the reason they severed ties with Depp is because if they thought it was going to be a PR nightmare down the road, even though they probably thought too soon, they kicked them out.
Yep.
And it's all because of a money issue.
I think social media told him to do it.
Manipulated them.
Yeah, social media manipulated.
Well, what's our next headline?
All right.
I think we've
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
We're moving
that
right
one's
through
we
these.
exhausted that one. already.
The point is, it's wrong. Hire Depp back, even though he's really lost his
I will
talent.
say, there's nobody on the planet that could have done Jack Sparrow
Oh no,
as
no.
good as
Hell
Johnny
no.
Depp.
I agree.
But
yeah.
we can all say it's been a long time
Yeah.
since he's done a Jack
Had a
Sparrow.
performance like that, yeah.
Exactly. And anything remotely interesting.
Yeah.
All right, our second headline is, that's right, guys, Jurassic World 3. or I think it's just going by
Dominion.
Jurassic World Dominion.
Yeah.
Just wrapped production.
I really want to see this movie.
Having to deal with all the pandemic craziness. They've even included some of the pandemic craziness in the film.
Yes.
Do we think that's going to bode
people
well?
in masks. Well, they said that it went along with the film. They said it actually helped the pandemic because it goes along with this. So I'm imagining somewhere in the storyline there's going to be some type of contagion outbreak, and people are going to be running around in these masks when really it's COVID. But it's going to be
Maybe it's so that the
laughable.
dinosaurs can't smell their breath or something like that.
Maybe.
It's just that rancid.
I mean, I'm sure they'll come. I
they'll
bet they come
come-
up with something stupid.
Yes.
That's
Like I don't think
why
it'll be a pandemic. I think it'll
Yeah.
be something stupid.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But I saw one screenshot with somebody in a mask on, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
I'm
This is
gonna
gonna
like
be
like
great.
So wait a minute now.
woo.
Am I not going to see Chris Pratt's face?
You
'Cause
will.
I'm going to be
yeah,
pissed.
yeah.
if I
I
don't
think
get
his
to see
it's
him.
just gonna be the extras that have masks on.
Okay.
Well, that's
Here's
he's going to
what's-
brave it and not have a mask
Can I
on.
tell
Yeah.
you what my honest thought is? And going off of some of like their prior like ideas for Jurassic Park and World sequels, and I'm like, there's no way they're gonna go this route, but I'm kind of think they will. That the Asian scientist, I think it is Wong or Wu in the
Yeah.
film.
That
There was
sounds like an Asian scientist.
well, I mean that is his name. No, I mean serious. His
no,
name
they
is
would
like,
stereotype and give him a Wong
but I
or
mean,
a
yeah,
Wu.
that is his name in the.
Yeah, I
I
know.
think it's Henry Wu or Wong, but
Yeah.
at one
They
point
were not PC back in the 90s.
At one point, they had talked about having these human dinosaur hybrid
Oh,
soldiers.
hell yes.
Okay.
What? Hell yes.
Hybrid soldiers, and what they ended up evolving that into was the Indominus Rex and the Indominus Raptor or whatever that was called, rather than these. But I'm having this feeling it's
The
like
Indoraptor.
Yeah, the Indoraptor. But now I'm thinking with the whole pandemic, what if they come up with something where he creates something that outbreaks and it's causing people to like turn into these dinosaurs?
Dude, I'm going to lose
evolve?
it. I'm going to
Yeah,
lose it.
ooh.
Oh, they evolve.
I'm going to lose it if they have a T-Rex with a mask on.
Yeah.
If they have a raptor with a mask on.
Yeah.
And I could see it.
Now I'm thinking surely they won't do anything as stupid as what I just said, but the fact that they had tossed that idea around before, I'm like, I don't know.
Do you
Wow.
remember the Brachiosaurus scene?
Oh yeah.
They're out there. They've thought of these dumb ideas before.
If they have people start mutating into dinosaurs
Did you
because
just
of
call it
some
a
outbreak.
Brachiosaurus?
Whatever it is, isn't
It's
that
not
it?
Barack Obama. It's a Brachiosaurus.
Brachiosaurus.
It's
All right.
a Brachiosaurus.
The Brachiosaurus is there with
With Michelle. Michellosaurus Rex.
The Obama.
there's the Biden Ceratops and the Kamalodactyls swooping in.
Kamalodactyl. That's
Kamalodactyl. That's fantastic.
God, somebody meme that, please.
Please, I want to see a Kamalodactyl
Yes.
so bad.
Oh.
It's in rare breed. We just discovered a new species.
Yeah, all the way from California.
Coming from Jurassic World Dominion.
Okay.
Kamalodactyl.
It's going to be a terrible movie, but we're going to go see it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, at this
Absolutely.
point,
I want to see it because I know it's going to be terrible.
if they
Yeah.
they hit a new low with their second franchise film
Yeah.
versus Fast and the Furious that hit it at like 8.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, they just
Yeah.
went really hard, like balls to the wall for this.
Yeah.
They were like, we're going to ruin this franchise quick.
Quick.
All right, guys,
Wow.
that's that headline. And then lastly, before we move on to our relationship segment this week, we want to, of course, talk about the great and fantastic American icon that is Mr. Alex Trebek.
You got to say it right.
He did say it right.
Alex Trebek.
This is Jeopardy!
Actually, what I thought that guy was going to pull through. Like, he came back to work.
I kinda
He
knew.
worked right up, and they said he worked until
2.5.
October 29th.
Yeah, it was like
is
2.5
when he-
weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think they said he still has like 34 episodes filmed.
It's gonna be like in
so-
the middle
Wow.
of December that
Yeah.
that'll be his final show.
Yep.
And they had an awesome send off, you know, just very quick like send off on that show for him. And it's like I think I think I knew just from following Steve Jobs and his deterioration with pancreatic cancer. It was kind of one of these things where when you find out it's pancreatic cancer, it's almost like no reversal, and it's very hard to come back from it. So I think he even knew his days were numbered, and it's just sad that, you know, I think everybody was pulling through, hoping for a miracle and hoping that it would happen.
Well, yeah, when you see him come back to work and he looked
Yeah.
good, he sounded
Yeah,
good. I
he
mean,
sounded
he said he felt
fantastic.
good. Like you get optimistic about it and
but
think
80
oh, wow.
years old, and
And then
you know,
2020 just says, "Ha, we're not gonna let this have a happy ending."
No,
no, we can't let any hope.
I bet
peep
Santa
through.
Claus dies this year. Like I mean, I bet
No presents for anyone.
Will be.
Well, you sure as hell better believe nobody's getting an iPad.
Yeah.
All right? You better not gloat about it.
No iPads from Santa. God.
But no, absolutely.
No
one-
PS5s from Santa.
Ooh,
That's true.
Sad day. Well, that's just true anyway because they
can't
sold
get 'em.
out.
It's like, sorry, honey, not even Santa can get you a pre-order for
It's
the
funny
PlayStation.
because like we have always done that as far as Santa Claus goes, but not for the same reason. I was not at all worried about some other kid's feelings. Never. Like
Exactly.
I was mad because
Santa
and I
got
told
the
Amelia,
credit.
I was just like Santa gets the credit for getting them the good stuff.
Yeah.
I want my kids growing up knowing mom and dad gave them the good stuff.
Yeah.
I want credit for that.
Santa
You
was
know,
only able to
Santa
bring
Claus
you some
brings them the clothes
socks.
and
It's like
stuff
Santa
like
brought
that.
you a wooden block.
Yeah.
yeah, whittle something out of that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the
Wooden
elves
block
got to
and a
make
knife.
it. the
Here's a
elves-
scroll
it's like,
saw.
the elves aren't up there making iPads. I've seen Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. They're not up there making iPads.
can't do that.
No, we saw.
They're not in China.
They're
They can't
only
do that.
capable of an etch and sketch. That's it.
Yeah.
They can't make an iPad.
Etch and
Come on.
sketch.
We all know Steve Jobs was Santa. He was the real Santa.
Oh my God.
All right.
It's
So-
just funny that you just don't know the name of any of this. Like you were.
What- that's what it's
Baracus or-
called.
It's called an etch-a sketch.
Yeah, etch-a
Etch-
sketch.
Not an-
What did I
You said an
say?
etch and sketch.
etch and
Whatever.
sketch.
I
It's
know, I'm
one
just
letter off. I'm
saying it's
one
funny.
letter off. N instead
Wow.
of A. I can clearly say that's my freaking southern accent. Okay,
It's an
Easily.
etch and sketch.
You got that etch and sketch over there. Look, Jimmy
Yeah.
over there. He
Send a
drew a
bunch of
car
them.
with square wheels.
It's like Santa's so poor he got you a magic 9-ball.
Oh,
All right,
God.
guys. So finally, we are ready. We wanted to remember Alex Trebek because he is an American icon, even though I think
thought
the
he was
only
Canadian.
but he's still an American icon.
Pretty sure he's Canadian.
You caught him off guard with
He
that
actually
one.
did.
He's
No,
like,
he is
he is an American
No,
icon.
no. He's Canadian though.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Reynolds even tweeted out,
Yeah.
jokingly about how, but that was why I even.
Well,
kinda
he was
roped him
made
into
famous
this
by America.
conversation.
That's
Can-
right.
Canada
Exactly.
didn't make him
He
famous.
didn't make no money in Canada.
Well, nobody ever does.
That's why they come
on.
down here.
That's
yeah.
why Bieber's
Right.
down here. We don't want him.
Avril and Beaver.
That's
and
right.
Bieber.
Is
And,
Ryan
Who just
we go.
mispronounced Beaver?
Hey, he looks like a beaver.
The Beaver.
He did when he was
Ryan
young.
Jim
Reynolds,
Carrey?
Isn't he from Canada?
Yes,
Ryan
that's
Reynolds
why
is
he
from
made the
Canada?
joke.
Yeah.
He said that at the end
Brian
of his tweet.
Adams.
Yeah, I knew Bryan
Nobody
Adams.
bought his music in Canada.
Canada.
They
No.
only bought it in America.
Of course. But no, the fact is, we made Alex Trebek who
Yes.
he is. All
That's
right?
right.
And I only brought him up because Ryan Reynolds tweeted.
Reynolds.
Renal gland.
you're having
Renal
some-
failure.
It's like you're just stumbling over your words at this
Well,
point. It's
here's
not
the
even.
thing.
It's all right.
Apparently, Trebek's going to have a cameo in Free Guy because that's
Oh.
why he tweeted about it.
Nice.
Because he
Wow.
made a cameo and he said
We
he's
won't
one
see
of the
that
nicest.
for like another year and a
Yeah.
half. So I mean,
So it'll be a nice treat when
So-
Trebek's on the big
So in
screen.
the movie, he gets an extra life.
I don't know.
too soon.
It was
too
sorry.
soon.
Sorry.
No, he didn't answer in the form of a question.
Gets a 1-up.
So he lost.
Oh.
Alrighty, guys, that's it for this.
I think we should move on to
We
our
need-
yeah.
Let's roll that big beautiful bean footage.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above. And a thing called love.
It bothers me that there's no
Why?
actual birds in that. It's
Right.
all bees.
Are you serious? What are you talking about?
Our
Hold on.
graphic is all bees. There's
I'll
no
bring it
birds in
back.
there.
Play the music again.
It's the birds and there's
no birds.
There's
ever.
no birds.
I got you.
I
Hold on,
also
let me go
just
to
noticed that the text has the little green, snot green.
it's kind of
Yeah.
orange
things
and
on it.
yellow.
It kind of looks like drips to me, though.
Yeah, it's like the tips, the little tips.
I guess
there.
because of the birds and the bees
I mean, I like
and
the
flowers and the trees.
color,
people's
like the
allergies are
crown
bad.
looking. Yeah.
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 It was a last minute ad. I didn't know how to add
I,
text.
I like the graphic. I just wish there were birds in there too.
Well,
Because right now it's just
No
bees and
birds.
bees.
There's no trees either.
there's only a
There are
sun.
flowers though.
Okay.
That's all it is. All right.
Yes.
We're done with that. Okay. So let's move on to our relationship topic, which happens to be a pretty heavy topic this week, hitting close to home for all of us. And we wanted to bring this up just to kind of, I don't know if I think we may have touched on this a little bit in the past, but wanted to make it an official topic this time around. So we are talking about how do we actually deal with loss? Thought this was something that even for Thanksgiving that's coming up, it's appropriate just to think about, the loved ones in our lives, those who have, who are still here and those who have gone. And how do we deal with that? And how do we remember them, especially at a time, like Thanksgiving and Christmas? So I'm going to toss it over to you guys, and either one of you all want to.
When did you pick this topic?
Probably like we
Today.
do all of our topics.
Okay.
Actually, I did this morning. I
Okay.
thought about it this morning, so it wasn't like last minute.
Oh, okay.
But
He wanted to bank off of your page.
It's like a Facebook move
Hey,
right there.
I asked.
It's like Sean knows somebody that just died, so let's.
He did ask, and oh man, tears. Obviously, I mean, for me, I would say I do get emotional easily, especially when I think of people who had a huge impact on my life. And we mentioned obviously it's Sean's uncle who had just recently passed.
Mhm.
And even though he wasn't my family, I mean, he was still somebody who was very significant in my life as well, having taught Sunday school at Valley Station where we grew up for so many years. And he was just always a figure that I looked up to, along with many men in Valley Station. And then my nephews, I found out today, their aunt passed this morning, losing her battle with brain cancer that she has fought for a very long time. And even though I don't have a very close relationship with her specifically, I do remember her being around when I was growing up, and I do know that my nephews were very close to her.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things that you hear about loss and you process it. And me, I don't tend to think of myself in those situations. I mean, I mourn the loss of the person. I'll cry and I'll reminisce about memories and the ways that they have impacted my life and shaped who I am. But I always think about others more so, about like how is that like with my nephews, especially since I wasn't specifically close with her.
Yeah.
I worry about how they're dealing and how Sean's dealing. And I even messaged Neil a few days ago just to see how he was doing, because I know, again, Dave was somebody that had an impact on his life. And I'm like, I've been thinking about Sean a lot, but it just occurred to me that you also have a connection with Dave, and I just wanted to see how you're doing. So it's one of those things where I think for me, it's kind of coping with other people, as being able to share that with other people and come together.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, what about you?
No, I echo exactly what you said. I was actually on the way over here, not even knowing that this was the topic. I was actually thinking to myself how even to tonight, like at the funeral home, like I had my moment when I first got there. But once all these people started showing up, like it really, it was good to see all the people come, and have a presence there at the funeral home. But like you said, I don't, I guess because I ultimately know that my uncle that's not him laying there in the casket. That's just what's left. That's the way my son put it today when he was telling his little brother about it. I didn't tell my youngest son, but my oldest son told him today. So, but I know where my uncle is, so I don't really. I miss him, and I reminisce on all the memories and things that he left behind. But I worry more about my aunt, so I get upset thinking about her.
Yeah.
And how she's supposed to live without the only person she's ever lived with.
Yeah.
For her whole life, basically. And so, but dealing with a loss, really for me, it's like Keith said, I think about other people. My sons didn't really cry. I think my 7-year-old understands that he's not coming back. My 3-year-old has no clue. He thought he was, sleeping. When's he going to get out of there? When's he going to come, And it's, but at the same time, it's like I worry about them because they're not going to have any more of those times with him because he loved them very much.
Yeah.
And my cousins, kids, my nieces and nephews, they're not going to have him. They didn't get to see him as much because they live far away, but that's still time that they have been denied with him now. And it's, so I think about a lot of even my dad, like my dad has always been very close. Even after him and my mom got divorced, they have always still treated him like he's a son-in-law or a nephew-in-law, I guess is what it would have been. But so yeah, I think a lot about other people and how, I don't know, when I was kind of getting through the emotional part until people start showing up and their emotions take over. So when other people would show up and I could see on their face what they were going through, then I would start to get upset because it was, I can see how much he touched their life.
Yeah.
And so that to me was what really, that actually kind of pulls me through some of the heartache that I have, is knowing that, well, I mean, he left behind a legacy.
Yes.
And some people think a legacy is $1 million in an account or a company that they can leave to somebody. But a legacy can be something as simple as kids that you taught Sunday school to.
Yes.
And
that's always something that's like you said, seeing all these people, and it's bittersweet to see them all, but it's like he touched all these different lives, and that's not that it's not a very profound show, but there's a quote from this show that I've always remembered very readily. It's from Smallville, where Lex Luthor's talking to Clark, and he says, "When my father dies, kings will attend his funeral. When yours dies, his friends will come." And that's always a quote that stuck with me, because he was saying it's like your father is the better man, and not be like, my father will have all these rich people coming, but it means nothing.
It's kind of it's kind of like, even like you see these huge royal weddings.
Yeah.
But yet, even though the world is watching, it's like, who really knows these people?
Yeah.
And same with a funeral in that scale. It's like, who really knows them? Who are the people that
those people are at the funeral because they have to be.
Right.
They're not there because they
and
want to be.
even the people, when I think about presidential funerals, it's like, they touched all of our lives to some degree, but it's like, who are the ones that they actually had a one-on-one encounter with that they changed their life, And it's interesting, that being the difference between, I think, public figures and people who, to me, it's kind of a, I guess, a difference of, the selfish versus the selfless. And it's like, when you the way you all describe Dave to me, having even just gone to Valley Station only on, big trips and whatnot, but knowing how closely and deeply rooted, a place like Valley Station was to your all's childhood and your upbringing, it put into, gravity for me what he meant to your all's life. And it's funny how he probably spent his whole life trying to prepare those loved ones, and trying to leave behind something for them, because I think as all of us, we want to leave behind, something that we, can share with our family, whether it is, tangible means like money or assets, or it is, memories and faith and belief, in something greater than ourselves. And that's the part you don't really get to enjoy. That's the part that you get to go on and it is that you've done well, my good and faithful servant.
Right.
And it's like you get to, that's your prize, the ultimate sacrifice we all get to partake in, from Christ. And I think ultimately it's like, everyone else who's left behind with their memories of that person and what they left behind, like you said, it's like seeing their reactions and seeing the lives they touched is when it becomes even more heartfelt, because you're starting to actually know who that person was outside of themselves and what they really left behind. Yeah. And I think there's, I think it's weird because it's like, it's kind of it serves as a model for you to want to ascertain and for you to want to have as far as, a moral compass for you to live your life.
Yeah.
Can I be half of that person?
Was the big thing, as far as, I mean, there's a lot more to my relationship with my uncle, just because they weren't able to have children. So every kid that came into their Sunday school room was their kids. And even, like I mean, he was like an extra dad and an extra grandfather. When both of my grandfathers were dead, he was still there, and he was like an extra grandfather. Even, on Father's Day, I always sent him a card. I send him and my aunt Mother's and Father's Day card, and they're not my mom and dad, but we've always done that just because they've always been like one. Yeah. So, but I think that's the big thing, is that he set a really good example. Even my brother-in-law, we were talking about it last night, and he said, You know, you would never hear Dave cuss. You never really saw him raise his voice. He never really got upset over anything. I mean, our church went through a huge upset and a split over stuff, and they had every reason in the world to be really upset over that. I mean, my aunt and uncle, because they didn't have children, they had extra to give, and financially and just in investing in relationships and stuff. But they gave a lot of money to the church. Not that that means a whole lot, but like, you know, they had just built the Family Life Center, and my aunt and uncle paid for all the appliances, thousands of dollars worth of appliances in that kitchen, the commercial grade, you know, stuff, and they never even got to see the inside of it because of that split. And so they had a lot of things to be pissed about, and you just never saw that from either one of them. My aunt would be more likely to voice her opinion about something, but Dave was always just, you know, he went with the flow. He kind of, and Neil said to me the other night, he says, that's kind of like my idea of what a Christian man is supposed to be like. Yeah. And that really like hit me hard when I heard him say that, just simply because I'm like, there's, you know, I actually have a, you know, I kind of feel like I never really saw that in Dave. Like, I mean, he was a very godly man, but I don't know. At the time, I never saw it as like, this is what a Christian man should look. That's what I need to model myself after. Right. And, you know, now I do. And it's just, I appreciated him saying that, because I just, honestly, with everything that had gone on,
gives you that different
I just didn't, I didn't feel that until then. But yeah, I mean, setting a really good example for young people, and even for the other older people there by their reaction of things, because people were getting mad, people were yelling at each other, we were having meetings and committee meetings and storming out of it and all, and my aunt and uncle just never really bought into that stuff. They were just like, if this is what happens, it's what happens. We'll deal with it. Yeah, they went to church somewhere else, but they didn't allow it to like dictate their path, you know, at all. And so it was just, you know, my brother-in-law doesn't live here anymore. He was in their Sunday school class for a couple of years, but yet he still is able to see that. Right. And so I know the people that were even closer have an even greater, have been greater impacted by them. So
but even on the smallest scale, how greatly
it's
going to
be different, because they had so much impact together as a couple. Yeah. And it's kind of like without one of them, you know, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with my aunt, because, you know, she's, you know, that's the only person she's ever known. Yeah. So that's her best friend, her husband, and they never had kids to pour anything else into. They poured it all into one another. So it's kind of, you know, I get upset and I worry about her more than I worry about the loss of him. Feeling. Yeah. Because I know, you know, like I said, I know where he is. I know there's victory. I know he's better off where he's at than where he would be here at 83 years old. So I hate the way it happened, because I think there was a little bit of negligence. But I either way, you know, I'm secure and I have comfort in
knowing that he's in a better place.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Well, I want you to bring up too, because you had mentioned specifically, even before this topic was part of the show, particularly that Dave was a huge fan of movies.
Yes.
And you were going to bring
I was going to bring it up anyway, just because I know he liked movies, and he watched this every now and then, not very often. Yeah. But
that's how a lot of our fans are.
Yeah. Well, at 9:00 at night, he would be watching. He would DVR Gunsmoke. Yes. And he would be watching Gunsmoke right now, because he watched it religiously. But he loved movies. Almost for Christmas every year, I would buy him new movies, Blu-rays and stuff. Yeah. And he he loves some weird movies. Excuse me. I mean, like, I know one of his favorite movies was 9 to 5.
Oh,
like with Dolly Parton.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good movie.
He loved that movie. And
wrong with that movie.
Working Girl with Melanie Griffith and Harrison Ford. Like, he loved that movie. And
I love it. It could happen to you, okay?
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage.
he just I don't know if he
great
liked
movie.
that one or not, but he a lot of the older movies that when we were doing the first Academy Award, like he had seen all of those.
Yeah.
And so he really liked movies. He sat up late every night. My aunt would go to bed, and he would set up till 1 or 2 in the morning
Watching a movie?
watching movies and
Awesome.
stuff. So he loved watching movies, and I would suggest things to him, and he would tell me, I didn't like that too much. Or he would say, yeah, that's a really good one. And if he said it was a good one, then that's usually what he got for Christmas from me, along with a U of K shirt, because we got him a U of K shirt just about every year.
Oh.
But
Now, let's see, for Sean to buy something.
That's a huge, yeah.
He liked-
Sean loved Dave if he was willing to buy him
Yeah.
something U of K.
yeah,
The fact that he would even touch something blue.
he
is
loved
just insane.
Fly Boys
Oh.
with
I can't
James
defend-
Franco?
with James Franco.
I
He
can't
loved
defend
movie.
that one. I can defend
No.
9 to 5,
Yeah.
but I can't
He was
defend that
into
one.
he was really into
War
like World
movies?
War
Yes.
One
Yeah.
airplane movies and stuff.
Oh.
And when I was a kid, I can
He had
remember.
to see 1917.
Yeah, he saw that.
Okay,
yeah,
he had to have
yeah.
loved that
He loved
film,
Saving
yeah.
Private Ryan and all
Oh.
that kind of stuff. But I actually remember when I was a little kid, like I would go over there and spend the night sometimes. And on Saturday morning, he would always. We couldn't watch the cartoons that were on TV. He had VHS tapes
Of
Yeah.
cartoons.
of cartoons recorded, but he had literally Steamboat Willie
Old
cartoons,
yeah.
and he had one where it was Mickey Mouse, or what I guess he was Steamboat Willie back then. I don't know, but he was in a biplane, flying the biplane and like shooting the machine guns, and it was the what's the bad guy?
Oh, I
Mickey
know-
Mouse's enemy. Pete.
Big
Yeah.
Pete. Big Pete.
Yeah, he would be in the other plane, flying. Of course, Pete's plane had the German cross on it, the
Yeah.
Iron
Yeah,
Cross on
that's
it.
right.
So it was like, man, they were even like saying that he was a Nazi, basically. But it was these black and white cartoons that we'd sit up and watch and eat breakfast, and it was just, I have very fond memories of that, and sitting and watching movies and stuff with him that. I liked hearing him laugh when he laughed. He had a laugh that was like infectious. Like you'd start laughing at him laughing.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So, but yeah, he was for an old guy. He liked a lot of movies. I don't know how many he saw, and he would never, like every now and then we'd be together, and he would say like, Have you seen this movie? And I'm like,
No.
yeah,
Who
well,
has?
well, sometimes I'd say no,
Yeah.
but then other times it was like, yeah, Dave, that came out like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
and he thought it was new, So that he liked Harrison Ford
Oh.
a lot.
6
so
days, 7 nights.
he would say he liked that movie.
Yeah.
And I love that movie too, by the way.
Wow.
But yeah, like he was a movie buff, so it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
My aunt, even said when we went over to visit her the day of, she was just like, he has all this stuff. I don't know what to do with all this stuff. And and I'm just like, well, you need to take your time and wait and then think about that later. But she's just like, he has all these movies and these, I forgot what she called them. She didn't call them DVDs. She called them something. She got it wrong. She was like, these VDVs or something like, she got it wrong because she doesn't watch anything like that. She's like, I don't know what to do with all these and all this stuff, but he does. He's got like a huge like collection because I bought them all for him, and my mom and stepdad would buy him movies and stuff. They would rip movies and give them to him, and back when you used to do that.
Yeah. I mean,
burn
that was
your own DVDs. And all
Nobody
that.
does that anymore. No.
We just get screeners.
Yeah, everybody
just
gets
have the
screeners now,
Pirate Bay now.
professional. Yeah.
But
no.
yeah, he liked movies, and he had some funny movies. Anything with Reba McEntire in it, he loved Reba McEntire.
The sad
So-
thing is I don't know any movie with her in it. All I know is-
Tremors.
Oh well,
No,
yeah,
she's been in other movies
been
and
in-
she
stuff
has,
too.
but you're right.
Well, she
Tremors is
had
a
her own
classic.
show too. So
Yeah.
that actually
Yeah.
wasn't a bad sitcom.
It's just
Yeah.
funny because that's right.
Reba.
Reba.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
was
Reba.
called Reba.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do know that.
I
Okay.
thought it was funny. Yeah.
But no, I think it just I know we kind of brought the mood down a little bit at the end of the show here, but I think it's important that, like I said,
We tried to scare you at first with the social dilemma.
Yeah.
Then we tried to make you laugh with
Well, I think,
Jurassic
well,
World.
I,
So
I think we
cover
kind
a
of
full
brought
range.
it. Yeah, exactly. Brought it full circle. And the fact of the matter is that it kind of does, like I already said about this time of the year, Thanksgiving, Christmas. It's like you remember what you are thankful for and what you do love, And ultimately, I think, something like the social dilemma is not as scary when you are surrounded by close friends and family that you can truly what you're living for.
My aunt
in
is
your life.
addicted to Facebook. I'm not, not gonna lie.
So she really
My
does need to
uncle's
watch
never
this
posted
movie.
anything on there, but she made him an account and he's never posted a thing.
never-
But my aunt she's flat out addicted to Facebook.
She's serial, watching everything.
Yeah.
And
but it's
sending
funny
you
because
the
she gets on the
articles.
computer to do it. She doesn't know how to do it from the phone.
Well, of course not.
So she gets on her iMac and does it from her iMac.
It's like my parents will get they just go to YouTube, the web page on their phone.
Yeah.
Even though there's
an
an
app.
Yeah. And they refuse to get the app. And,
Yeah.
and granted, it's part of it is to keep the kids from clicking on it. But I'm just like, guys, just download the app. You can even set parental things to where they can't get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just like sitting here and I'm like, guys, come on.
Well, they have a whole separate YouTube Kids app.
Well, no. It's not safe.
No. I know it's not.
The
but
kids
yeah.
app is definitely not. No.
You still have to set parental guidelines because you can still get into.
Oh yeah,
anything
no.
on the
It's
kids
like,
app.
oh, what's going on? He's got a little block face. That's a cute cartoon. Oh, he's killing the other guy.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on? No, but I just again with the I know the real reason for the season's coming up with Christmas.
Yeah.
But also just being with your friends and family at this time and realizing what's important is also what matters most. And hopefully, just kind of talking through some of this is also helpful with grieving, and we all grieve in our own different ways. But no doubt, I think everybody does deal with it, and everybody has to. You have to face it. That's part of life. But again, I think there's that hope that we've also talked about, which is what comes after this life. And focusing on that is also just as
There's a big difference when you go to a funeral for someone where the people don't know
yeah versus
where that
those-
person went.
yeah.
Like, I mean, versus like I said, you can go. We laugh at the funeral home and all
Yep.
that stuff. Then you go to another funeral home. I'm not trying to say anything negative, but I'm like, you can go to a non-believer's funeral and it's sad and it's depressing.
There was
but there's
lot
so many
of-
people
yeah.
that just laugh and look at the pictures and laugh and
celebrate his
Yeah.
life.
That's
yeah.
right. It's more of a joyous
Celebration,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's funny. My mom even brought up, she's like, well, when I go, I don't want it to be sad. And I'm like, Mom, we're going to be sad. It's going to be somber. We're going to have to grieve.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate her being like, no, I want it to be about the life that I've lived.
Yeah.
And just having that outlook, I think, also just makes it even more helpful in that grieving process.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, I think that is going to do it for this episode. A little long-winded, but
Long one.
obviously for the topics at hand,
Heavy topics.
it was
yeah.
worthwhile. It needed to be in one of those episodes, and I'm glad it was. So you can always email us, rmpodcast at redmoonproductions.com, right there at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
So email us there. But as always, guys, you can also watch us every single Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, on YouTube, on Facebook. Just search for Red Moon Productions and go and like, share, subscribe on all of our social
next
media.
review going to be?
Yeah, Keith, you know what that is, right?
No.
Thought
Yes,
we were gonna-
I thought we-
Love and Monsters.
Love and
Love and
Monsters.
Monsters.
I know what it is.
Which Sean has actually already seen
I'm
it.
going to watch it again
But
because I
was-
liked it so
was,
much.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
already have an insight.
You got a little tease.
You got a little
Yeah,
tease
little
as to
tease.
what it's going to be
At least
like.
from one of us.
That means both of you will disagree. That's usually
hey,
the way it
but
works.
You know, it's funny because
we were all on the same level with this one.
with the social dilemma, although Erin probably was right because she said she liked it. And that we were
yeah, it
probably
was
not gonna
funny.
like it.
Last week she said, "Oh, I liked it," so y'all probably hate it, which we didn't hate.
We
it.
didn't hate it. We
No.
just
Hate it.
criticized it heavily. So
it could have been 30 minutes.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really
30-minute
could've been.
documentary.
Yeah.
it could have been. The dramatization could have been.
Take that
complete,
out.
take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. As always, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
so until next time, we will see you right back here
Okay.
on the Red Moon Podcast.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.